Hey girl, hey, my name is Olivia Thomas, and thank you so much for being here. I am the founder of Intentional Development Co. and the Busy Girls Brunch, and I am here to talk to you about building your content mapping strategy. I know sometimes the idea of building content and doing something that is putting yourself on Front Street, right? Can be a little bit overwhelming. And then you sit there and you're like, well, what do I even write about? And how do I do it? Like, what does it even look like to make content and map it out, right? So, the thing that I really want to talk about is mapping your content for the year or as much as you possibly can so that you can get that off your plate. So, my big thing is working on wholeness, making sure that we're feeling whole within our businesses, moving from hustling to wholeness, the place where we are throwing things at the wall, taking in everything that people are saying that they need and want, and then making it for them, and not really having an organized offer, having ourselves kind of do everything and anything for people because it's what they want from us. And there is a time for that. I think we all kind of go through that hustle period where we're building something and we're figuring it out because we have to figure out what we actually want to do. We have to figure out if this is something that our audience actually wants as well. And we have to figure out if this is something that makes us feel happy while we're doing it, which makes it easier to continue to do it over and over again. So ultimately, the goal is to go from hustling to wholeness, having an understanding of our offer, it's clear, our processes, they're clear, what we need to actually have in place to make our business work. One of the things that we need for business is content. As much as we want to feel like content doesn't apply to us because we're so good at what we do, and we are, content is a very important part of our marketing structure, especially right now. We need to be able to get to know you and get to know what you actually think is important in the business. This is what differentiates you. We have differentiators, but if we can't communicate those things and really prove that that's who we are through the things that we put out, whether it is blog posts or Instagram posts or LinkedIn or speeches or whatever, right? All of this is content. And we need to be able to say, like, this is us. No, really, this is us. I'm serious. This is us over and over again through different forms of content. So, what I like to do is content mapping. Um, and it's pretty much driven by the topics that are important to us. So, the first thing that you even need to know about this is the fact that I use blog posts as my base, and I call it blog base planning, like really simple. Because the fact is, when you have a blog post, which is a longer form of content, right, you can always take that and break that down into other forms of content. If you have a blog post, you can make a script for a video. You can break it into Instagram graphics or posts or captions, right? You can make it um, a YouTube video like this, right? Like all of those different things can come out of your blog post because when you have the longer form piece, it can be broken down into the additional pieces that can spread out throughout the week. So, what I believe is that each week can be filled with content from one blog post. As long as you make that blog post something that has like parts and really expounds and digs into the idea of what you're talking about, then it'll likely have sections or something with bullets, a lot of information that you can put out and use throughout the week. So that's really the first thing we need to be thinking about in this whole content mapping situation. Next up, right? So having that in mind, now we think about the topics that are important to us and we can use our frameworks, the things that we know, the things that we're really good at, and write down a list of those things. So if you're talking about your framework, it's like how you actually get your results for your clients or the way that you actually do things, right? So listing out the parts of that, it can be your unpopular opinions. I love an unpopular opinion because that means you are thinking differently than people who are in your industry. And that is a big differentiator. That is something that maybe your audience secretly is thinking about, but they don't know how to voice it. So if you have similar opinions, they might be able to resonate and see themselves in you and see their solution in you. So I love I love an unpopular opinion. I love some some counterintuitive thinking because it means that you are agitated, you have found something in your industry that can be fixed or that can be expanded, which creates somewhat of a blue ocean for you, right? So, meaning that you're in territory that someone may have thought of exploring or they may not have ever thought of exploring it, but you are there and you are talking about it and you are the brave, polarizing figure that is actually bringing that to life. So, your frameworks, your unpopular opinions, the topics that you like to talk about, and generally anything that's like having to do with your business or your industry. You can just like make a list of those things, right? And then after you do that, you can go to Google or you can go to something like Ask the Public. Um, but that one's not free. Google is free. And there's actually a lot of websites like Ask the Public that you can try. I think there's like SEM Rush. There's a lot. Um, and always, well, no, Google Trends doesn't do it, but you can go to Google. And when you go to Google, you can type in whatever the topic is and then see what questions people are asking about that topic. And then you can answer those questions. When you go down and you click a topic, it expands to more stuff. So you'll always learn more of what people are actually typing into Google and asking about this topic. This is very important because you want to know what your audience is really thinking. What are they going online and saying, like, oh, I need the answers for this? What is actually happening? Right. So once you find those questions, you can write the questions down and you can make a list of all of those different things. I like to go for maybe like 10 to 15 topics and then see how many questions I can get for each topic. Maybe like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right? Like as many as you want because you really want to be able to answer those questions for your audience. If you have a promotion coming up that is specific to a certain part of your framework or a certain part of your business, you can always think about the questions that are related to that and use that to decide what you'll be writing about for that period. I know a lot of times people will be like, well, if I write content, if I make content, if I put it out there, then I'm giving away everything that I have. But you're not. If you answer the what and the why, right? Answering what and why, it helps your audience to understand how this thing is relevant to them and how it'll change their lives, right? So, within understanding what it is and why it's necessary, you can help your audience to decide if this is something that they want to dive further in with you. Obviously, when you write the content, you make yourself a viable option for someone to help them in the how portion of the work. I'm actually I'm actually a strong proponent of the how as well. Hear me out. Oftentimes, you can teach someone how something's done, and there are some people who will execute on it, and it's wonderful that they will execute on it, and I love that for them. But then there are other people who either can't execute on it or they won't because they don't have the time, right? Because they're running something that is larger than that one component of the thing. So even if you teach how, you are kind of furthering your positioning of yourself as the expert in that space. So, what and why, if you are, a little less comfortable with teaching how, but how further proves that you are the expert in the space. So, once you have your questions, now you have your questions, you can use something like Notion or ChatGPT to ask it the questions and see what it comes up with for articles. So I'm going to say take that with a grain of salt because I think those are great starting points. In the same way, like when you're in school and they're like, oh, you can start with Wikipedia. Wikipedia can give you the information to start, and then you can go down to the resources and further your research on whatever the topic is. I feel like these AI writing tools are a start. They get you to at least not be blocked in your writing, but you still have to fact check it. You still have to edit it for voice. You still have to edit it for brand philosophy and inserting your own self into it. And then also you have to edit it for whatever it is you're really trying to project. It can only take from the internet, right? It can only take from what's already been there. And oftentimes whatever you're bringing is something that came from your head, your heart, so it's proprietary. So you need to put the proprietary information into whatever it generates as well. Obviously, you can write everything from scratch. You definitely can. And if that is your zhuzh, do it. If you're like me and sometimes sitting down to write or edit causes you anxiety, then something like Notion or ChatGPT, even as an editor, um, well, an editor and then you edit it again, is really helpful, right? So for me, sometimes I'll just like write things in my Trello and just go for it. Just go for it as much as possible. Whatever's on my mind, I'm just brain dumping. And then I'll take one of those tools, put in my brain dump, and say, can you please organize this into a blog post? And whatever it spits out, I go back in and I edit it and I say, oh, this makes sense. This doesn't make sense. I would never say that. This wouldn't resonate with my audience. This would. Maybe I never even thought of it that way. Right. So using it as a tool and remembering that it's not a service provider, and you might still need to hire a service provider. I believe in editors. I believe in people understanding your brand voice, being able to come in and say, "Oh, this is what's going to make this better. This is how this is going to connect with the audience better," and really getting in there. So I love writers. I love editors. I think they're still very much necessary in the brand creation process. But to start, if it's just using the tool and then you editing it yourself, that's absolutely perfect. And then when you're ready to give it to somebody else to do it, they can do it too. But when you go next to that list of questions, you can link to whatever your article is. You can put it in a Google Doc or whatever you're using for word processing, and then boom, your article is there. From there, you can decide how you want to break down your content, where you want it to be seen, and then do those things. You can highlight the bullet points that are going to be posts. You can pull out the things that are going to be captions. You can start working on the video that this is now the script for. You have a bunch of content from a single piece, which is amazing. We're trying not to waste time. We're trying to make sure that we do more things that are not in real time so that we can get ahead of the curve and work on other parts of our business that we really want to put our hearts into, but then also have enough time, space, and energy to enjoy the fruits of our labor. Overall, that's the biggest thing that's important. And that's the thing that I always say, we're building the business to support our lives. We don't live our lives to support the business. So I really hope this was helpful. I'm really excited to be on here with you guys. And if you want more of all of this goodness, please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your questions. Maybe you have another um, content mapping strategy that you want to share with me. And I want to hear about it too. Oh, I almost forgot the actual the further mapping part. So for each piece of content, you can say what part of your customer journey it's for. So there are a lot of different like frameworks for customer journey, but I kind of go for like three parts, which is discovery, nurturing, loyalty slash upsell. So loyalty slash upsell is somebody who's already purchased from you and you want them to repurchase from you or see something else that they might not have thought of before. So discovery, they don't know who you are. Nurturing, They know who you are, they've subscribed, they followed, they liked, they're kind of in there, but they haven't yet purchased. And then loyalty slash upsell, you're getting in there, becoming further family, and also letting them know there are other things that they can get involved with too. So you can put those categories next to each blog post, and then you can say, and it helps you to decide where that blog post actually needs to show up or that content needs to show up because you're putting it out there for them. Okay, that's it from me. Stay intentional, keep flourishing, like, comment, subscribe. I'm so happy you're here. All right, bye.